welcome to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show right here on WDBO 107.3 FM, AM 580, always streaming live in your very own WDBO app. Just open it up, push play, and listen to us wherever you have Wi-Fi, internet connection, wherever you are around the world. Because, at this time of day on Saturday, 3 p.m., it's time for the Magic Mechanic. The way this works is we're sitting here with none other than Larry Perry, the Magic Mechanic. You give me a call, give me your name, your number, your year, your make, your model of your car. Give me a problem. I'll act as if I have any idea what you're talking about, and then I'll pass you along to Larry, who will be able to answer your question to ease your automotive woes. The number to call right now is 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO, or if you are listening in the app, feel free to send us an open mic. Even if you're not listening in the app, you can send us an open mic. And we'll play those at about 4:30 today, so about 90 minutes from now. Larry, how are you doing this fantastic hot Saturday?
I've been working outside around the house. I kid around with people. I say, I'm more of a caretaker than a resident. So place does keep me busy. Hey, it's 3 o'clock. Hi, folks. I'm Larry Perry, and you're tuned in to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show. So new listeners know this is an interactive automotive and mechanical advice program where we help you with your car problems and just about anything mechanical. And it's been our pleasure to do so for, almost 32 years. Me personally, I'm an automotive shop owner, and I've been a master auto technician since 1982. I've actually been involved in working on vehicles since around 1976. Dad owned a gas station, so you can well imagine, back in that day and age, I was often in the garage getting my hands dirty. Sometimes I broke as much as I fixed, but you know what? I learned a lot over the years. And I'd like to share some of that knowledge with you if you need any help with your car. To make the program work, we need your calls. And, of course, the phone lines are open at 844-580-9326. And remember, all your calls and your car questions, they're getting indexed and they're being placed on our new Magic Mechanic YouTube channel. So other folks searching for answers like yours will be able to get the same needed information. Think about that. Folks will be able to play back our car questions and hear my comments years from now. So, hopefully what we do with this YouTube channel, I hope it'll help a lot of folks other than just you taking the time to pick up the phone and call in and get absolutely free car advice. Also, kind of remember, think about this as well. If you're out here kicking tires, and believe it or not, I'm actually in the market for a vehicle, which is very rare. We decided to give my oldest son, which recently got into real estate, my wife's LS 460 Lexus. And so she needs a replacement vehicle, and I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count what her replacement vehicle will be. It will be another LS Lexus. So we're, and I'm not buying it new. I mean, they're way expensive brand new. So we're looking for something with low miles on it and very, very clean, garage kept, That's had a lot of love. And they're hard to come by. They're hard to find. So I'm on the search for a used car. And if you are, and there's a vehicle that you've been contemplating, and you'd just like to run it past me, for the dependability, the known problems, that sort of thing. I see it all, and it's one of them situations to where there's vehicles out there, I'm just telling you, that you should really, really, really consider passing on. So if you'd like a little advice about that, you're welcome to give us a call. Dash warning lights, you got a check engine light on, a limp mode light, stability control, ABS, poor fuel economy, maybe your car is using oil, more oil than gas, AC not working right, and it's that time of year, we got to have our AC here in Central Florida. Vibrations out on the road, maybe you're hearing a growling noise in the front or the rear of the vehicle, maybe you've got a recall notice in the mail, maybe you've got a warranty question. There's also federal warranties on these vehicles as well. You can have a vehicle that's 8 years old, and folks, it still may be eligible for free catalytic converters if you have a problem with it. And if you know what I'm talking about, they can get very expensive. Antique and classic car issues, whether it be distributor points, related, carburetor. Yeah, I worked on those too. On any gas, hybrid, electric, or diesel vehicle. Also remember, I have a complete database of all the listed recalls and technical service bulletins from 1980 to present date. All you need to do is give us a call. That number is 844-580-9326. Once again, that's 844-580-9326. Now, I always kid around and I always tell folks, listen, it's hard to remember a phone number, but if you can remember the 844 and the station that you're listening to, which is 844-580 WDBO. All you do is convert the letters to numbers on your phone, and it makes it easy to remember. So 844-580 WDBO. And you know what? All you got to do at that point is give our producer Josh the year, make, and model of your vehicle, a brief description of your problem. You'll be placed on a brief hold, and we'll take your call in the order that we received it. Also remember, for immediate help, you can call the shop number and speak to my general manager, JD, at 407-629-2661. Do you know he answers the phone while he's bass fishing on Saturdays? It's a hoot. He's literally got this all figured out, so he answers your calls if you need some immediate help while he is bass fishing on Saturdays. Isn't technology absolutely incredible? Well, unless you got a computer problem with your car, I guess. Also want to mention the open mic option. You can go to WDBO.com on your smartphone, and you can download the app, and you can leave us an open mic car question. Just give us the year, make, and model. You got about 30 seconds to do it, and the issue that you're having. And we'll get to those after the bottom of the 4 o'clock news break. You can also ask a car question by emailing me, Larry, at magicmechanic.com. Also, I can't guarantee I'll get to them during the show, but if I can't fit it in, I will answer it by the first of the week. Once again, folks, we do have several open lines, and if you'd like to jump on board, once again, that number is 844-580-9326, or the easy way is 844-580-WDBO. Looks like we're going to head to Jacksonville, and we're going to talk to Willie with a 2019 Ram 3500. What's going on with this thing, Willie?
It's throwing me in limp mode. It'll drive a little bit and then throw me in limp mode and it won't come out. Sometimes I can turn it off and turn it back on, and then it'll drive again.
Okay. Willie, did you have any symptoms, so to speak, before you started encountering this?
I got the transmission rebuilt.
Okay. All right. Well, that aids a little bit. Was it a local shop or a national chain, or who did the transmission on it?
It was a mechanic shop.
Okay. Did they say what kind of problem there was inside of it whenever they rebuilt it?
The pump had beat up the torque converter.
Okay. So
and then all the clutches had burned up.
Okay, so we had a torque converter, front pump, stator issue, common on a diesel, And did you have an issue like this prior to the transmission failing?
Yes, sir. Okay. And I do hauling freight. And I was in Utah, and I was going up the mountain, and then it started acting crazy on me. I shut it off, turned it back on, and I was continue to driving on my way home. But every now and then, every so many 500 miles, it'll do it again.
Yeah. Man, I wish you'd have hollered at me before you had a shop build that transmission, Willie. I would have highly suggested that you put a Jasper transmission in it. And the reason for it being is because of their 100,000 mile nationwide warranty. And in your case, being, using it for freight and heavy hauling, that would have been probably the best money you could have spent on a transmission. But with that being said, that's water over the dam now. We gotta deal with our immediate problem. Listen, I done a little research on this. Actually, I did a little research on it the other day because I think I got an email from you as well. And it took me a little while.
Sir.
Yeah, it took me a little while to do some of the research on this. At this point, I hate to tell you to do this, but I think it might be in your best interest. Willie, there is a couple technical service bulletins on your transmission and having issues like you're dealing with. And I'm just assuming that the shop that built your transmission did an outstanding job and did everything correct. And if they did, what I think you're going to need to do is probably take this thing back to the dealer. And there is a TSB on this for a reflash on the transmission control module. And it literally, I can't even imagine how many different items this reflash is supposed to take care of, but it's overwhelming. I mean, harsh shifts, poor shift quality, coasting bump shift, poor shift quality, squawking noise, poor up shift 1-2, deceleration problem from 2-1. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I don't think I have ever seen a computer reflash that actually is supposed to correct this many issues. I'm being 100% honest with you. There's probably 22 issues that they actually have that this one reflash is supposed to take care of. Now, as we know, whenever a transmission gets disconnected to be rebuilt or whatever, what winds up happening in a lot of cases is the TCM loses its memory and its actual flash itself that it received whenever the vehicle was new. And sometimes they have to be reflashed. And in your case here, I think your best bet, and I mean, I really hate to send you back to the dealer for something like this, but I really honestly think it'll be in your best interest. Do you have something to write with, Willie?
Yes, sir. I took it to Dodge to get it reflashed, and they did it, but I still got the same issues. And the reason they don't like really messing with my truck, because I got a tune on it.
Yeah.
And once you got a tune on it, they don't like servicing it because they're responsible if they mess it up.
Well, you can always take the tuner off.
Yes, sir. I did that.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to do something, or you're going to wind up trashing another transmission. Have you taken it back to the builder?
Yes, sir.
And what did they tell you?
He telling me that from what the codes that he getting, he's saying there's something wrong with either the TCM, the wire harness, and I switched out the solenoid thing. I swapped that out twice already, and it's still doing the same thing.
Yeah. I wish you'd have bought a Jasper. I'm telling you, it's oh boy.
But I was having problems with solenoid B, I think B and D.
Okay.
Before I even got the transmission rebuilt, but you know what I'm saying, that whatever that ghost is still there.
Yeah, there could be something in the harness, Willie. Listen, I'll tell you what. Just go ahead and email me, Larry@magicmechanic.com. You've been there before. Let me send you this reference number for this TSB, and maybe just give the dealer a call and ask him if this was the reflash that they actually did on your truck, and then we can kind of go from there. Thanks for the call, Willie. I hope we can help you out with this problem with direct injection. But it is a situation to where there may need to be some periodic decarbon done as a maintenance situation, maybe every 60,000 mile. Do you know whether it's got a conventional or a CVT transmission in it?
It's got a conventional 6-speed transmission.
Okay, well that's a plus. That's definite a plus. I'm gonna tell you like this. I get these older, 2010 Mazda 3s and 5s in the shop all the time. And, it's amazing. I can't remember ever putting a timing chain in one. Literally, I don't care how many miles are on it. They could have 300,000 miles on it. We never hardly ever see a timing chain go bad on a Mazda. Some of them that use Ford engines a few years ago, we've seen issues. But I mean, anything that's actual Mazda transmission, I get transmission problems in with Mazdas all the time. But you know what? You normally never have to replace a transmission on one. I don't care how many miles are on it. They do have some electrical problems with some of the older ones, control modules and stuff like that. But, the dependability of those vehicles is so underrated, in my opinion, from a professional mechanical outlook. I think they are very, very underrated. Toyota and Lexus, they've got some incredible reputations. But like I said, the Mazdas that are out there, in most cases, they have really withstood the test of time, and they're very affordable. Do maintenance on them, and you don't get a lot of unexpected stuff with them as long as you maintain the vehicle. So I'd break the thing in, and I'd Amsoil the devil out of it, and then drive it until you're just sick and tired of it. I don't think that it's one of those vehicles. I mean, if you were calling me up and asking me about a Volkswagen or something like that, we'd have a complete different conversation. But with this vehicle here, I mean, the dependability of it is equal to a Toyota or a Lexus, in my opinion. So, I don't think you can go wrong with it, Jim. Happy motoring, as they say.
And just open up the WDBO app, push play anywhere around the world, assuming you have internet connection. We had our earlier call from Jacksonville. He's probably most likely listening from the app, so it works. It works wherever you got internet. Push the play button. If you want to hop on with Larry but don't have time to sit on the phone, you can feel free to leave him an open mic via the WDBO app, and we will play that, and Larry will answer it with the expertise that only he can. Or if you want to hop in line on the phone, got plenty of open lines for you. 844-580-9326 is the number to call. 844-580-WDBO. Let's head to Kissimmee, where Dwight's calling in about his Ford Edge. Go ahead, Dwight.
Hey, Larry, how are you doing today?
We're doing great.
Got a maintenance question for you again.
All right.
On this Ford Edge, it's the 2.0 turbo.
Mm-hmm.
How many rubber belts are on the front of that thing that need to be changed?
On that one, Dwight, I believe there is two. You have one for the alternator and something else, and then you've got a separate one, I believe, just for the AC compressor. Now, if that vehicle had the V6 in it, I think there's only one belt. But on that one, I believe there is two. You got one small serpentine belt and then one longer one.
Okay, and is it a big deal? Does it have do you have to disassemble the car to get to them to change them?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Even with about 45 years of mechanical experience, I don't think I'd tackle it unless I had it on a rack, so I could get underneath of it, easily. Because if not, you're probably going to be on your back, especially for that AC one. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not 100% for sure, but now the AC belt on that 2.0 may be what we call a stretch belt. Now, in case you have never encountered this, I hope you never will, but it's a belt that is 100% designed to be, well, let me say it like this, bumped and pried on. And it doesn't have a tensioner, a separate tensioner to tighten the belt. On that one there, I think it may be a stretch belt for the AC compressor. And if you've never done one of those, you do not want to do that. Now, the other one is probably pretty replaceable, because I'm sure the other one has a tensioner. But on that AC one, I think that small belt is a stretch belt, is what it's referred to as. And there's really no magic tensioner to adjust. You literally pry and bump the engine over in order to put the belt on. I can't believe a car manufacturer would do that, but I guess if you ain't got a place to put a tensioner, I guess that's the only thing that you can do. But I will warn you on that one. You want to be use extreme caution before you venture into it, I guess is the best way. Make sure you study and make sure that it is something that you want to get into. Probably a couple hours labor to put the belts on it, on that one. But definitely something that I would tell you to make sure that you've educated yourself before you dive into it. Now I'm going to tell you something else too. With a vehicle like this, you're it's old enough and it's getting to the point where you wanting to get the new belts on it. Maybe they're stretching, making some noise, or maybe they're starting to crack. You really the biggest thing other than the belts is to make sure that the hoses are all in good condition. And when I say cooling system hoses, I'm not just talking about the hoses itself. You really need to pay real close attention to anything that the hoses connect to that are made out of plastic. Especially like thermostat covers, or sometimes you've got these quad T's, as I call them. They'll have a four port plastic union somewhere in the hose assembly. And all that plastic stuff on those cooling systems get old, brittle, and they just break. So I tell folks, if you're going to replace hoses on one, a lot of the hoses nowadays come as assemblies, especially for heater hoses, and even your lower radiator hose may have 4 hoses coming off of it, going to various parts of the engine and stuff. All those things, especially if they've got these plastic unions in it, where they've crimped them together from the factory when the hose was made. Those are the things that gets people in trouble. It's not normally, a car coming in with a bad motor because it overheated because of a blown radiator hose. Usually the rubber will just about withstand the test of time, but it's where they union them together with all these plastic pieces. And, and now you're using plastic thermostat housings, plastic valve covers, plastic intakes. I'm like, goodness gracious. I mean, I understand using plastic for, interior parts and stuff like that. But when you start bolting plastic to something that's getting up to 220 degrees on a regular basis, it's just, you're going to have to pay a little bit of attention to it, especially as the vehicle ages. Because when somebody comes in, they've got an overheat condition, they've overheated it, warped the cylinder head, and got a big mess on their hands. It's not, like I said, it's not normally a rubber hose that failed, on a 10-year-old vehicle. It's usually the stinking plastic parts that they've got bolted to the engine that's incorporated into the cooling system. So, those are the types of things that I try to bring people's attention to. Those are the things that'll get you in trouble. So when you venture into the belt issue, don't forget to inspect those hoses and make sure all those cooling system components that are made out of plastic, somebody gives them a double look. They're not real expensive compared to engine replacements, so kind of keep that in mind. Dwight, thank you so much for your call, and you have a wonderful weekend, buddy.
Thank you much, Dwight. That opens up a line for you to hop on with Larry Perry, get the questions answered that we all so desperately need to get the most out of our cars. 844-580-9326, 844-580 WDBO. Chad's calling in. Chad's got a question about his car that he didn't, who was it earlier, was going to buy a car, but Chad just bought the car, so hopefully we can ease his woes as well. Go ahead, Chad.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. I bought a 2010 Lexus IS 250 just like 3 days ago, and it's got 113,000 and some change on it right now. Super clean. And I just kind of wanted to learn a couple things. Like when I was driving it yesterday, because I do a lot of city driving, it seemed to be like a little bit of kind of not missing, but sputtering just for a moment, and it just kind of seemed like it worked out. But that was the only thing I noticed. Other than that, it's been pretty awesome. But anything you can tell me about that would be great. I don't know if that was a good buy. I was really been looking for a Lexus for a while, but this one fell in my affordability range, and I jumped on it.
Okay. Did the vehicle come from a dealer lot or a private individual or what?
It came from a Lexus dealer.
Okay. Chad, listen, I'm going to tell you what I would probably recommend at this point. Probably get some, some really good fuel additive that helps clean carbon and that sort of thing. A lot of them, and it's really hard for me to recommend this to a consumer, because the problem with it is most of the stuff that you'll buy at your AutoZones and your O'Reillys and stuff like that, those are consumer grade products, and they don't really do what an industrial professional grade product does. BG makes an extremely good, carbon valve clean upper intake system that, fuel additive wise. AMSOIL, the AMSOIL PI is world renowned. I mean, that's some of the best stuff in the world. Now, we do stock it at Magic Mechanic. I mean, we actually have a complete AMSOIL store at Magic Mechanic. So if there's anything that somebody needs, all they have to do is stop by and pick it up. We carry everything. But the AMSOIL PI, what it does is it not only does it help clean the injectors, it cleans the valves, the combustion chambers, and makes a world of difference. But I think that's what you got going on if you had some spitting and sputtering. When a vehicle is being processed through a dealer, you got to remember that it's hard to say where that car came from. It could have come from the auction, and you got, and then by them detailing the car, start, stop, plugs are getting fouled out on it and stuff, Not that it needs an immediate tune-up or anything, but running a good fuel system cleaner in with your gasoline is the first thing I'd recommend on something like that. As far as the durability goes,
that sounds good.
Yeah, as far as the durability goes on a little IS-250, those little 2.5 V6 motors, I'm telling you, we hardly ever do anything other than just normal maintenance. Tune-ups at 100,000 mile, and then, of course, we highly recommend to run the AMSOIL synthetic lubricants in them and change the oil about once a year or every 15,000 mile. You do that, and it's hard to say how long those things will last. The other thing, too, is you really need to get some sort of a baseline on the transmission. If somebody needs to check the fluid on it and see what the condition of the fluid is, if it needs it, by all means, go ahead and have the transmission serviced at the same time. You do those, and you're going to get a very easy next 100,000 mile out of that car. As long as everything feels good now, strut-wise, steering-wise, no vibrations, and it handles and got plenty of pep, then run some fuel additive in it and consider maybe going ahead and switching it over to a good, high-quality synthetic oil like AMSOIL. And do the same thing with the transmission. You put these high-tech synthetics in these things. I'm not talking about the stuff you buy at your local parts store. That's just, those are all wannabe synthetics. They're there just to get you from one oil change to the other, and they don't really do anything to decrease engine wear between it. So, but if you go with a polyalpha olefin synthetic like an AMSOIL product or a Redline, something along those lines, which those are specialty oils, and they cost a little more, but you get your money's worth back out of them in the length of time that you use it. And then if you add the benefit of no engine wear on top of it, and add the benefit of AMSOIL warranties your engine against lubrication failure while you use their product, that's a pretty good deal. It's like getting a free extended warranty on your engine every time you change your oil. So kind of take all that into account. If you want to find out more about AMSOIL products, you go to amsoil.com and see what that does. See if that triggers something. Nice to think that you can put something in a vehicle to actually combat any future wear. We got enough on a car to keep us busy other than having to replace engines and transmissions. So sounds like you got a good one there, Chad. We wish you the best with that vehicle. If you need any help, you know how to get a hold of us. We're here every Saturday. Thanks for the call.
4:30. Richard is giving us a call from Davenport. Go ahead, Richard.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
Hey, so I'm curious to see what information you might be able to help me out with. I got a 2019 F-150 5-liter. It's consuming oil in between oil changes. I had it once at Rush Truck Center. They threw a computer program on it in between oil changes one cycle, and they added a longer dipstick to it as well. But I'm still dealing with the same problem.
Okay. So they did do the reflash on the computer?
Yes, and between, I don't know, 1 or 2 cycles of oil changes, it was good. And then I guess the computer just reset itself, and now it's back to consuming oil. I mean, it consumed 2 to 3 quarts of oil in between oil changes.
Wow. Richard, this is the situation, and this is something that here in the last year or so I've had this come up on several 5.0-liter F-150s. What happens is the variable cam timing solenoids will actually keep the cams advanced too long during deceleration. And when that happens, the maximum in most cases of engine vacuum, an engine that I thought you could ever have, was about 20 inches, and that's if an engine's running perfect, dead at idle. But what's happening is on decel, on these engines, these things are going up to 30 inches of vacuum, and the PCV system is literally sucking oil right straight out of the engine. And what this program is supposed to do is to actually, the variable cam timing solenoids is actually supposed to alleviate the advance on these cam phasers so that the engine's not running in this real high vacuum range whenever you decelerate. So the flash is, who would think you could reprogram a computer in order to get rid of an oil consumption or an engine smoking problem? But believe it or not, that does make a huge difference in most cases. Now, the other thing too is there is a couple other things here that can be done. Number one, what weight of oil are you running in this engine, Richard?
5W20.
All right. You no longer use 5W20, period. Ever. Never put another drop of 20 weight in that engine. You can actually use a 550 in that engine if you want to. It won't hurt a thing. Same oiling system, same everything as the Mustang GTs use pretty much the same engine, and most of those run the 550 in those. So you can run a higher viscosity oil like a 550, and that's also going to help. The second thing that I would probably recommend is putting what we call a catch can. I don't normally recommend them because we don't normally need them if we run the right viscosity oil. But in your case, I think the 550 oil, which isn't going to hurt a thing here in Central Florida, you're going to be fine and dandy. Just make the engine outlast the rest of the truck. The other thing, too, is a catch can. And what this is, it's a device that goes in between the PCV system, so if any oil does escape out of the engine, it'll go into this catch can as opposed to going out the exhaust system, and it's a good way to monitor how much oil is actually being pulled out of the engine as well. But the higher viscosity oil going to a you could go with a 540, or I'd probably just use the 550. I mean, that's what I ran in my Stage 3 Mustang with a 5.0, and I mean, that was a great oil for that engine. But you got to stay away from those 20 weights. It's just not going to do you any good with that engine because we already know that there's a known issue with it. The high vacuum is actually pulling daggone oil past the rings is basically what's happening. So the higher viscosity oil is going to prevent that from happening. And having the catch can on there, we can actually just unscrew that catch can once in a while and actually look and see how much oil is actually collected in it. So nothing major wrong with your motor. You haven't done anything wrong. This was just some computer glitching crazy from the engineers, Ford Manufacturing. So, but this can be resolved without anything major. So. Thanks for the call. I hope that helps you. If you need any other info on this, Larry at magicmechanic.com. I'm more than willing to share all this information with you.
Thank you so much, Richard. 844-580-9326. More of the Magic Mechanic Show coming right up. I'm the one who plays it, but I that's where I stop. I don't know what you're talking about most of the time, but that's where Larry comes in. Together, Larry and I together are a great automotive expert. Larry Perry, the Magic Mechanic himself, sitting here with me. How do you feel about that, Larry? How do you feel carrying the weight of this here show?
Well, I've got a co-host here that drives a Kia, so when it comes to automotive knowledge, we're just going to let you. What do they say? Don't quit your day job.
Oh, brother. I didn't know you 8 years ago when I bought it, Larry. I wish I would have known you then. If I knew then what I know now.
Well, like I said, they recall a lot of them. So,
Oh, yeah.
if anything breaks on it, you're probably going to get it replaced for free, as long as it doesn't catch on fire,
Fingers crossed.
So, yeah. All right. Well, we'll all know better next time, right? Hey, folks, welcome to the second hour of the Magic Mechanic Radio Show. It's a show where you call in, you ask your automotive questions, and you can't beat the price because it's free. That number is 844-580-WDBO. Or for you folks that like to do it the hard way, 844-580-9326. Also, we take your automotive questions and my comments, and we place them on our new YouTube channel, so other folks can maybe find the same help that you seek. Plus, you can play it back anytime you want. That number is 844-580-9326. Or we dumb it down a little bit. If you can remember the 844 and the station you're listening to, which is 580 WDBO, you just go 844-580 WDBO, and the only thing you got to do is convert the letters to numbers. It's so easy to remember when you do that. Plus, and if you would like to give us a ring, or if you'd like to speak to JD at the Magic Mechanic Shop, that number's 407-629-2661. He answers the phone while he's bass fishing. He is a very, very, very talented human being. Hey, folks, our sponsors are very important to the show. We all pitch in financially to bring you this program every week. So if you enjoy it, please patronize our sponsors and tell them you heard about them here on the Magic Mechanic Radio Show. Orlando Auto Upholstery. Anything interior, convertible tops, carpets, seats, on anything, car, truck, van, boat, ATVs, even commercial, industrial upholstery. You can visit them at OrlandoAutoUpholstery.com. Their phone number is 407-898-2351. They do incredible work. They are very, very, very good guys. Been in the automotive business one way or the other all their lives. Vic and Donnie, they're just, these two little Italian guys, they are just absolutely fantastic people to deal with. You love them to death. And if you're into a restoration project or wanting the seat redone in your family car, whatever, it's starting to springs poke through it or whatever, go down there and see them. They're fantastic. Now, they do stay pretty busy. Anybody that's into an artisan trade like that, if you're any good at it, you're going to be busy. But drop by, holler at them, introduce yourself. Let them take a look at whatever you need to have done if you're out driving around, and they'll tell you when they can get to it, and they'll take care of it for you. I guarantee you'll leave there happy. Amsoil synthetic lubricants for your car, truck, van, SUV, boat, motorcycle, bulldozer, semi, you name it, Amsoil makes a lubricant for it. Folks, listen, I didn't understand what Amsoil did until it was 1992. So I missed out on probably 15 years of my automotive career not knowing how to prevent engine wear. And it's embarrassing, but I didn't understand how Amsoil worked until it was 1992. And if it was up to me, I would have never sold a quart of anything but Amsoil. What's the point of being a decent mechanic if you can't protect the very equipment that you're working on? When I got into this industry, and I don't mean to sound boastful or anything, but by golly, I wanted to be as damn good at it as you could get. I wanted to learn every little aspect there was and then take it from there, re-engineer if I needed to make things better, prevent a customer from having a repeated issue, even if the manufacturer was giving you a lousy part. That was my goal, and then to be 1992 before I realized there was actually an oil out there that ran to heat and friction as opposed to getting hot and thin and running away from it, or turning to sludge and you got to drop the oil pan off the engine because the sump's plugged up. that stuff doesn't happen with AMSOIL, and that's the reason. That was why I was so impressed by it. And then we did our further testing. Back in 92, I was a pretty young guy. I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s. So we really pulled out all the stops. I said, let's just find out just how heat resistant this oil is. So we put a frying pan on a hot plate. I mean, we're talking jig clamp it here. I mean, hillbilly, you name it. We heated this pan up, and then old boy that worked for me, he says, let's see what happens when we pour this. He's poured a little Valvoline in this thing. The oil jumped out of the pan. It literally jumped out of the pan. I never seen anything like it. It was hilarious. We're sitting there cracking up. Now, you got to remember, this is 1992. And then we went and we poured some AMSOIL in this pan that was literally glowing red by this time. Old cast iron skillet. This oil did not jump out of the pan. It literally started moving by itself, trying to get to the middle of this white hot pan. I never seen anything like it in my life. I'm going, well, I know this is a stupid test. This is really a stupid test with oil. But when you watch oil trying to run to something as hot as that white hot in the middle of that cast iron, that black cast iron skillet, I'm sitting here going, this is crazy. And then we even had to try the Valvoline one more time and watch it jump out of the pan. I couldn't believe there was that much of a difference in what oil did. But at that point, I paid attention, and I know that is really. I mean, for a chemical engineer to have watched what we did, I mean, we were probably on the world's dumbest videos. But what that showed me was there was a major difference in the resilience of oil when it comes to temperature. And I said, you know what? I said, if it does the same thing in an engine, which it does, it runs to heat and friction. I said an engine would never wear out, especially if you're using an oil that can't turn to sludge to start with because it's not made out of sludge. It's not been derived from sludge. I said, this is an amazing product. I said, I'll have customers that'll literally be able to keep cars as long as they want without it ever breaking the bank. I said, and from me being in the industry that I am and have been for so many years, that was the most impressive thing I have ever seen in the automotive field in my whole entire life as far as products go. And that's the reason I swear by it, And I tell folks, well, be careful if you do your own jig clamp it heat experiments with AMSOIL. You might want to wear some goggles and some long sleeves. But it's amazing what the oil actually does. And it's the only oil I've ever seen do that. So if you want to find out more, you can always go to AMSOIL.com. Jasper engines and transmissions. Well, if you need a motor or transmission, Jaspers do come with a 100,000-mile nationwide warranty. Our very first call today on the program, if you folks that wasn't around for the first hour, it was a 2019 Dodge Ram 3500 with a diesel. And he was having some transmission problems, and he went to a shop, and they rebuilt his transmission. And from the conversation, he's had nothing but trouble ever since. And when you start, and he uses this truck to haul freight with. It's a big old Dodge Ram, dually, a 1-ton truck. But he's had problems with the transmission ever since he spent all this money. And I'm sitting there going, and I even told him, and I hated to rub it in, but I wish he'd have bought him a Jasper. I wish he'd have got a Jasper transmission. They got a 100,000-mile nationwide warranty. So when you get to a point, if you are unfortunate enough to lose a big major component like an engine or transmission, instead of him now, he's just looking for answers. That's why he called the Magic Mechanics Show. He's looking for answers. He's searching and hunting. He went back to the builder. Now they're telling him that it's something else other than his transmission. Of course they would. But, in a case like this, Jasper would get involved with it, and they would make sure that his vehicle got fixed for him, especially after him shelling out the money for a 100,000-mile nationwide warranty transmission. And I try to, I don't care if a Jasper is 15, 20% more than a local builder. You got a nationwide warranty. You don't have the guy down on 8th Avenue's warranty. You understand what I'm saying? So if you got to buy a major component like that, a motor or transmission, get something that is going to be warranted nationwide. And from a company that's been in business for, well, I guess 80 years. They've been around a while, and they put their money where their mouth is, especially when it comes to your warranty. To find out more, if you need a product like that, go to JasperEngines.com. Last but not least, Magic Mechanic Auto Service Center, located in Orlando, Florida. Engines, transmissions, brakes, suspension, steering, electrical repairs, and, of course, AMSOIL synthetic lubricants. Magic Mechanic's kind of famous for, well, the hard-to-fix problems, if you can imagine that. The stuff that's already been kicked out of 5 different shops, that's usually the last resort is Magic Mechanic. Also an ideal place for your everyday maintenance and service needs as well. And don't forget, Magic Mechanic also sells tires. Visit us at magicmechanic.com. Email me directly, larry@magicmechanic.com. All right, let's kick it off with Jim in Oklahoma. Jim, tell us what's going on.
Hey, I got a brand new Ford Explorer. It's last year's, 22. And I was just wondering, I want to, like my old car, I want to change the automatic 10-speed transmission into AMSOIL.
Mm-hmm.
What's a good time to do it? I just do local driving and pull maybe a 1,500-pound trailer. Now, I did notice that that 10-speed transmission has a plastic oil pan, and it looks like with factory towing on it, it has an extra transcooler that has to be dropped. And I was just wondering, should it just do a drain and fill, or should the pan be pulled off the first time and filter changed? Or what's your recommended to, like 30, 60, 100,000 mile? I was just wondering how to get it into AMSOIL and when to do it.
Yeah. Jim, I'm going to tell you, this is my opinion. On that one there, see, it uses a lot of the filters in these transmissions nowadays use a real high micron filter. So, I mean, they're not, they're more of a screen than they are a filter. In your case, yours does use a lower micron filter. Now, what I'm saying by that is it's a tighter mesh. The first time around, I would probably change the filter and the fluid at the same time. And then you'd probably never really have to worry about changing the filter again as long as you got the vehicle. When you're breaking the transmission in, you got dust and some particles that will come off the clutches during break-in. That'll also get into that filter and even make it more restrictive. In my opinion, I think you should do a filter change at around 36,000 mile, along with drop the pan, filter, fluid. That's the best way to start it off. That way, any break-in material is out of that filter, and you don't have to worry about it again. Thanks for the call. I just think there needs to be more of a track record before I would want to invest that kind of money into a vehicle like that. I'm sure they're probably fine. I mean, there's a lot of them on the road, and I haven't gotten a lot of negative feedback on the vehicles. But when you're dealing with mechanical issues to the extent that those car companies have over the last 10 years, I don't know. I mean, it would really, I would have an uncomfortable, me personally, I would be uncomfortable. There's always an unknown with any time you buy a vehicle. But a lot of times I like to base future situations based on a company's past. They've been a lot of consumers that have really just been heartbroken, I guess is the best way to say it, over some of their past experiences with both those car companies. The Palisade and the Telluride look like awesome vehicles. I mean, they really do. And I can see why folks would be interested in those two particular vehicles. It's a nice, roomy, heavy-duty looking vehicle. But mechanically, like I said, the jury's still going to be out on that from my standpoint, until you get these things coming in with 100,000 plus miles on it and, see that there's no oil consumption issues or anything along those lines. I really couldn't tell somebody to run out and be a guinea pig for any car company. And like I said, I may be overcautious. I'm not saying that, it's a bad product under any circumstances. I would be probably too optimistic to be a guinea pig is how I feel at this point. Not that they're not warrantying and recalling billions of dollars worth of engines as we speak, but I'd want to see a little bit of more of a solid track record. You start talking about Mazdas and Toyotas and Lexuses and a lot of your newer Hondas and stuff like that. You don't really see those types of problems. So, do your own research. I'm just a little bit apprehensive to take the leap, as they say. I appreciate your call, Ron.
Thank you so much, Ron. 844-580-WDBO. More of the Magic Mechanic, more of your open mics coming up next segment. Get them in. WDBO app. If you want to write down the shop number for Larry Perry's Magic Mechanic Shop, if you like what you heard, if you want to go talk to Larry, JD, you want to just bring your car in for a once-over, give him a call right now, 407-629-2661, 407-629-2661. We like to dedicate a portion of the show to make sure those of you who listen in the WDBO app have a chance to talk to Larry using the open mic. What do you say we go through some of these right now, Larry?
Let's go to work.
All right. First one coming at you right now.
Hey, guys. I have a Ford F-150 2006. Someone stole my catalytic converters, and I don't want to put new ones on. Is there an ohm that I can jump between the cables so I don't have my check engine light on?
This is one of those situations to where you're asking if there was a way to trick the O2 sensors in order to be able to not put converters back on the vehicle. I can do anything, but I won't. It's against federal law. You can go to jail for running your vehicle without catalytic converters on it. Aftermarket converters, Walker, they make aftermarket converters that are not as expensive as the original equipment. Plus, you probably wouldn't be able to buy original equipment anyway, but an aftermarket converter on there take care of the problem, and it's not going to break the bank. It's not that much. And if it's depending on your insurance and your deductible, it's something that your insurance company would cover. As for vandalism, if you did have your converter stolen. But leaving it off like that, you won't even be able to ever. If you were to sell that vehicle without a converter on it, you could be facing fines of thousands of dollars. You don't even really want to get involved with it. Converter does a great job cleaning up the exhaust before it's emitted out for all of us to breathe. Go ahead and see about getting a Walker aftermarket converter and put back on there.
Thank you much. Let's head to the next one coming at you. Oh, let me push the right button this time. Here it is.
Hi, Larry. Mark from Orlando. Last Friday, my wife and I had gone out to dinner in our 2016 Ford Edge. I was driving the car home, and I started losing my brake pedal about a mile from the house. I quickly lost all the fluid, and I barely made it home with a little bit of friction on the brake pads. She had just driven home from Atlanta the day before by herself, and I had gotten a notice that this car should be looked at, but I did nothing about it. It's a scary situation. I just wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah, if you lost all the fluid like that and you don't really see any leaks or anything, most likely what you probably have is a master cylinder that's allowed brake fluid to leak out through the brake fluid, anything that was in the reservoir into the booster itself. So yeah, that's it's if you get a recall notice for anything like brakes or steering components, it's something you should definitely take seriously. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much. Feel free to always send us your open mics via the WDBO app. Open mic number 3.
Hey, Larry. Jay from Orlando. Love the show. Listen to it every weekend. I got a question for you. I have not heard anyone ask this to you before. How did you come about becoming an auto mechanic? And was it due to your childhood upbringing? Just a quick synopsis. Give us the backdrop of Larry Perry becoming the mechanic he is today. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the show.
Folks, I get asked that quite a bit. And listen, I have hired and worked with some of the most brilliant mechanics that there's ever been on this planet. Stan Honeycutt was not only, he was, not only was he an employee of probably over 20 some years, but he was an incredible human being. And he was one of these people, and I place myself in the same category. Some people are meant to do certain things in life. I believe you were born into it. You have that mentality, you have that aptitude, and I think, in some cases you're lucky. You find somebody that finds their calling, I guess is what you may want to say. Robert Howard, which he's disabled now, but he was a technician at Magic Mechanic for probably 24, 25 years. Stan Honeycutt the same way. Bob Bergstresser, which is retired now. One of the most brilliant mechanical minds I've ever run across in my life. But these are all guys that were meant to do this. I'm just telling you, they were the best of the best. There will never be no replacement for them, because as we transition into different means of cars, they probably won't be any more reason to have us around. In 10 years. But as it stands right now, I sit back and I look at the geniuses that were just literally meant to do it, And I place myself in that category, and I don't mean to be doing it boastfully, but I was meant to do what I do. I was born to do it. And it's really funny because I get asked the question, was your dad a mechanic? Folks, I'll be honest with you. My poor daddy, he probably couldn't put a spark plug in a lawnmower motor without cross-threading it. It wasn't because of my parents or an uncle or anybody like that. It was just, I was evidently just meant to do what I do, and I've had the pleasure, like I said, of working with some of the most brilliant people. Even though they're classified as an automotive technician, these are people that could have built the space shuttle. I kid you not. Some of the most brilliant minds that I have ever had the pleasure to be affiliated with, I can't give them enough credit, whether they're still with us or not. It's just, I've been blessed as far as the people I've been affiliated with in the industry. I'm one person, and I can overlook most of the stuff that takes place at Magic Mechanic. But, the Stan Honeycutts, the Bob Bergstressers, the Robert Howards, the Phil Killians, I could go on and on and on. Literally, these are the guys that had worked there for so long. They made this company that we have today, and the reputation that Magic Mechanic has. I will not take all the responsibility for our success under no circumstances. I've been blessed by some of the most brilliant people there is on this planet, and I can pretty much leave it at that. Thanks for the open mic.
Thank you so much for that little story into your background, Larry. I'm sure we all appreciate that. We got 3 more open mics left. Let's see if we can get them all in. Here's number 1.
Hey, Larry. My wife has a 2021 Buick Envision Avante. She had a situation where basically the battery died and she lost all power to everything. She couldn't turn on her flashers. She couldn't put it in drive or neutral to move the vehicle. What do you do in a situation like that? Thank you.
If you lose all battery power, which can happen right at the terminal on newer vehicles, you have a battery sensor system. Those things can fail. It's supposed to be a system that can actually tell you if the battery is failing. Sometimes that particular system goes bad. You lose all power, everything. When you have that happen, there's really, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. There's really not a lot you can do with the car, until you get power restored back into it, other than a tow truck. I hate to hear that somebody, encountered that, but, an alternator can overcharge going into it. The charge itself too much, it'll cause an issue like that as well. It can blow a main fuse, fuse link of some sort. It can actually cause a problem with the battery system, that actually checks the battery through the computer system. So we hate to hear that you had that happen, but there's really not a whole lot you can do when it does.
Thank you much. This next one sounds like he may have been filmed in a Splash Mountain before it shut down, so if it's a little too loud, just let me know.
Good afternoon. This is Wayne from Winter Garden. Larry, my question is relative to purchasing a new used vehicle, specifically a F-150 Ford. Looking in the years 2010 through 2015, it's just going to be an extra car in the family. Just wanted to know if there's anything I need to be on the lookout for with respect to either maybe the engine or any other issues that you've seen. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, the track record of the 3.5 EcoBoost throughout all those years have been pretty good. There was a few issues with the early EcoBoost, but any of those years, the 5.0-liter motor was just, outstanding. And then there was a few of those that were made with that 3.7 V6, and those have been pretty good engines as well. So, I don't think there's really anything I could forewarn you on up to those dates. Now, 15 and up, if you start getting into the 2.7-liter V6 turbos, I wouldn't even go there with that. I would probably avoid that as even a possibility. Because of the issues they had from 15, 16, and 17. But the 3.5 EcoBoosts and the 5.0s and the 3.7s during those years that you picked, they're all good engines. I really can't come up with anything that was bad on any of them. So as long as they've been well maintained and taken care of, I don't think there's any one that you need to worry about avoiding.
Well, I can't believe we did it. We played all 6 of them today. One more coming up, and this one's more of a criticism of a product we've come to love.
Sorry, but I've given up on using AMSOIL. It's too hard to find and too much of a pain to order. So until AMSOIL starts getting in more and more stores, I'm pretty much done with it. But thanks, for giving us the heads up on it.
Well, there's thousands and thousands of people to use it. Folks, listen, if you're out of town, out of state, it's not local, you don't do business with Magic Mechanic, like I said, we have a full AMSOIL store. A lot of your Ace Hardwares around Central Florida carry AMSOIL if you're a do-it-yourselfer. Like I said, Magic Mechanic has a complete AMSOIL store. We carry everything. It's kind of like this. If you are in a situation to where you want to use AMSOIL, you can go to AMSOIL.com and you can fill out a preferred buyer thing, and you can buy directly from AMSOIL. You can always put you got to have a sponsor for any time you buy AMSOIL. You can always put down Magic Mechanic or Larry Perry, and you can buy straight from AMSOIL, and the shipping is basically free. You can just order whatever you want to from AMSOIL's site just by being a preferred customer. So it's pretty easy to do. I mean, we order everything off of Amazon nowadays. You may as well order your oil from Amazon. AMSOIL. So, yeah, just go to AMSOIL.com, fill out your preferred customer thing, and if you need to, just put in Magic Mechanic or Larry Perry. They'll attach that to your order, and then you can just order from them whenever you need your products from AMSOIL. So it's not that hard. It's not that hard. It's a little bit harder than going to your local parts store, but you do have to order it and keep it in stock. Order a few cases at a time, and keep it around so whenever it comes time to need it, you've got it there handy to use. But but just become a preferred customer if that's the case. And if you're out of state, anywhere in the United States, just do the same thing. If you need to, just put Larry Perry or Magic Mechanic on there as a sponsor if they ask that question, and it'll all be took care of. Quick and easy.
Thank you so much, Larry. Always a way to get your product if you If you find a way, just Larry has the way to get it done. 844-580-9326. Going to grab a quick break. Some news, weather, some traffic. If you're on hold right now, the number to call Larry's shop is 407-629-2661. 407-629-2661. More of the Magic Mechanic Show coming right up. Welcome back to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show right here on WDBO. If you're on hold right now and you want to talk to Larry, the number to call is 6. At this point, maybe you're listening to the show and a question pops into your head. Let me give you the number for his shop so you can give him a call. 407-629-2661. That's the Magic Mechanic here in Central Florida. 407-629-2661. Just a couple more minutes, so we're going to take the last of your calls that we can. Bob has given us a call from Orlando. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, Larry.
Hey.
I have a question, and just two basic ones. It's always bothered me, whether it's fact or fiction. The first is that you should let your car warm up a few minutes in the morning before you straight take off. And the second one is that I've heard you should turn off your air conditioner a little bit short of your destination so that the coils or something can dry so you don't get that musty odor coming out of the vents.
Bob, both of those are great questions. But, as far as warming your vehicle up, you start it up, you let the fluid circulate, your oil gets circulated for probably 15, 20 seconds, and that's sufficient. As far as maybe a little longer on real cold mornings. But as far as your AC goes, listen, it is made to do what it does without any, guidance from you. I mean, you can leave the AC on all the time. When you shut it off, what's in the evaporator case is supposed to drain out and eventually dry out. Unfortunately, it's a dark, musty box, so some odors it's possible to get, but if that does take place, cleaning the evaporator case is something that is pretty much a service procedure nowadays. So thanks for your call.
Thank you so much. Coming up next is Alan calling from Titusville. Go ahead, Alan.
Hello, Larry. I have a 2014 Ford Mustang 3.7 V6 that vibrates under the front floor when in drive and just starting to move. Could it be heat shields or silent block, or it seems to be like in the drivetrain maybe?
Yeah. Alan, let me tell you, a lot of people don't know this, but even though your motor and transmission mounts are made out of rubber, they actually have a liquid inside of them. They're actually filled with an oil, believe it or not. And a lot of times, over time, those liquid-filled mounts will leak a little bit of the oil out of it. And when that happens, you get exactly what you are describing. Chances are, if you look at those mounts when it's up on a rack, they're probably oily residue around on them, and they're just not able to absorb the harmonics of the engine any longer. Replacing the mounts, and you'll probably be back in business. It's not the engine or transmission. It's nothing major. It's just probably a couple engine mounts. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, Bob. Going to wrap up the show today with John calling from Orlando. Go ahead, John.
Hello?
Hey, John, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, John, go ahead. Go ahead, John, please.
Yes. All right, John. I have a 1978 Nissan Rogue. Right?
Okay.
Now, he's making a lot of noise in the front end, and it's just going to the right. Even though I keep the steering, he's very going there. I'm afraid of it. And he make a lot of sound like something is not tied up on the axle there. I jacked the car, I took out the front end, everything is firm. And it's so dangerous because my wife is driving the car, and then the car is about to make an accident. So what do you think happening in the front end?
John, I'm going to tell you, it sounds like you may have something going on with a brake hose or a caliper, and it's causing your brakes to stick. This is something, listen, you you need to take it to a professional and have them evaluate it. At least get it to a shop and let them test drive it and see what's going on before it does turn into a big problem. I'm thinking maybe a brake hose is swollen internally, or there's a brake caliper that's sticking and not releasing, causing you to have the problem that you got. Folks, thanks for tuning in. You listeners, customers, and show sponsors are the reason we do the show, and I have a job. You can tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time in Central Florida on 107.3 FM, HD Radio, 96.5 FM, 2 and AM 580 worldwide at WDBO.com, and click Listen Live or just tell your smart speaker to play WDBO Radio every Saturday at 3 p.m. If you need help with your vehicle, you can always call Magic Mechanic at 407-629-2661. Visit our website, magicmechanic.com, or you can also email your car questions directly to me, Larry, at magicmechanic.com. Hey, don't forget to go to the Magic Mechanic YouTube channel and also hit subscribe. You'll be surprised of all the information you can get from that. Some really, really cool stuff over the next little bit. Until next week, be safe in and out of your car, and we'll see you back here next Saturday at 3 p.m.